Exposed. How I transformed a family trip with one unexpected move after being told I wasn't welcome. Sam sat on the edge of his childhood bed, staring at the familiar faded posters of the solar system that had long since curled at the edges. The air in the room felt stagnant, thick with the weight of expectation that always hung over family gatherings. His heart raced, thoughts colliding like unbalanced chemicals in a beaker. What would they say? His uncle's voice echoed in his mind, harsh and relentless. You've got nothing to contribute. If only he had pursued the path of research like he dreamed, but here he was, a high school science teacher in a town where ambition felt like a sin. Pacing, Sam wrestled with the gnawing doubts that clawed at his resolve. Was he really a disappointment? The teachings of his grandmother echoed through his memory, reminding him of the values she instilled: service, resilience, and the power of knowledge. He wanted to honor her legacy, yet felt crushed beneath his uncle's looming success, like a shadow that blurred his worth. Just moments before, a knot of anticipation twisted in his stomach, each beat of his heart pulsing doubt deeper. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The drive to the family home felt endless, a road weaving between memories of a boy who longed to travel the cosmos but found himself tethered by familial weight. Just pulling into the driveway sent anxiety surging. His shoulders tightened in preparation for judgment. The welcoming smiles of distant relatives offered a momentary reprieve, but the sight of his uncle's percentages and profit margins etched onto his brow stifled that flicker of hope. Sam feigned laughter at light-hearted stories, but inside he was a live wire trembling. Then fate intervened. Meeting an elderly family friend stirred dormant layers within him. The woman leaned in, her voice low and conspiratorial, recounting his grandmother's vision of a groundbreaking farming initiative that could uplift the community sustainably. It jolted Sam, igniting something long buried beneath the rubble of corporate indifference. His determination surged, fueling questions that churned through his mind. He could be more. But revealing this legacy meant facing the man who deemed him a failure. Gathering strength in his newfound resolve, he searched through dusty family archives littered with forgotten dreams, charts, and sketches that spoke of innovation. The darker threads of greed began to unravel, and an inner fire fueled him toward confrontation at the dinner table. He clenched his fists under the table, bracing himself for what lay ahead. He could challenge not just his uncle but an entire family narrative dictated by wealth. His heart thundered as the moment approached, knowing the silence that once felt suffocating might transform into something beautiful. As he took a breath and prepared his words, the door swung open and everyone turned. A stranger stood silhouetted against the light, an unexpected visitor whose presence threatened to shift the delicate balance of forgotten dreams and unspoken truths. Sam felt his pulse quicken, knowing everything he had strived to address could shatter again, just as it began to mend. Would this revelation help him reveal his worth, or further bury him in the shadows? The pulse of tension filled the room, and the truth lurked just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. The stranger stepped into the light, revealing a familiar face Sam hadn't seen in years: his childhood friend, Mia. The last time they had met, they were filled with dreams that reached far beyond the confines of their small town. Mia had always believed in Sam's potential, often reminding him of the determination that sparked his passion for science. Now, standing before him, she looked as surprised as he felt, eyes wide with curiosity. "Sam!" she exclaimed, folding him into a hug as the room buzzed with whispered questions. For a moment everything else faded, and he felt the warmth of familiarity bathe him in a time that seemed simpler and freer. But as he pulled away, the weight of the family dynamics returned, reminding him of the gulf he needed to bridge. His uncle had straightened, eyeing Mia with thinly veiled suspicion. "And who exactly is this?" He addressed Sam, his tone clipped. The tension crackled, igniting a sense of urgency within Sam. Here was his chance not just to reclaim his voice but perhaps to pull Mia into his newfound resolve. "This is Mia," Sam replied, a hint of defiance coloring his voice. An old friend who knows what we could achieve if he hesitated, inhaling deeply. If we honored the vision Grandma had for this family and community. Vision? You mean your fairy tales? His uncle scoffed, crossing his arms and leaning back in his chair. A fortress barricading him from new ideas. Before Sam could respond, Mia interjected, her voice steady and resolute. Actually, Sam's ideas are rooted in reality. You, of all people, should understand the balance of sustainability and profitability. Sam's heart soared at her support, yet doubt threatened to suffocate it. Did he really believe in the potential of their grandmother's vision? As he engaged in the conversation, something gradually shifted within him. Memories of the initiatives his grandmother discussed with such fervor flooded back, her sketches of eco-friendly systems that use science not just as a means to an end but as community empowerment. The thought propelled him forward, bringing clarity to the fog of uncertainty that had consumed him. You've built a legacy on outdated notions, Sam declared, feeling the weight of every word hanging in the air. We're at the precipice of change here. We can do something meaningful, not just for ourselves but for everyone around us. His uncle's sneer faded slightly, and for a moment Sam could see a flicker of something doubt, fear. But as quickly as it appeared, it vanished behind the mask of arrogance. That's rich coming from you, Sam. The dismissive tone cut through him, unraveling remnants of the courage that had been knitted together just minutes ago. The room fell silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. I refuse to be labeled a failure again. The words burst from Sam, power-packed with his decades of growing resentment. I am a teacher, and I educate because I believe in the transformative power of knowledge. It's time I harness that belief into tangible actions. Mia nodded fervently, and something stirred in the onlookers, a recognition of a battle that wasn't just Sam's but one that resonated deeply within them, challenging their own reservations. I'm not asking for validation, he continued, his voice growing stronger. I'm demanding respect for our family's legacy. If we don't seize this opportunity, we're losing more than a dream. We risk burying our history under the weight of greed and dismissal. With every heart-pounding word, Sam felt a shift within himself, an evolution he had yearned for but hadn't known how to embrace. The gathering was more than a family reunion. It was a crucible for transformation, a chance to redefine not only how he viewed himself but to light a fire within others. Yet, just as the crowd began to murmur consent, a hand shot up from the back, stifling the momentum. Sam's heart sank as his uncle's business partner, a man known for his power plays, spoke up with a smirk. The implications in his voice were heavy. And what makes you think anyone will back your naive dreams? Sam's breath caught, and suddenly the battle had shifted. Skepticism clung to the air, ready to undermine his hard-won ground. Would he crumble, or could he dig deeper into this newfound resolve? The stakes were clear. The confrontation was just beginning, and Sam wasn't about to back down now. The moment of truth loomed, and as he prepared to respond, he realized the fight for acceptance was about to escalate beyond his family's dinner table. The many layers of personal conflict awaited their reckoning. How far would he push before he truly discovered who he was meant to be? The moment felt suspended in time as Sam faced the crowd, his pulse racing. Every sense sharpened. He could feel the tension swirling around him, mingling with the scent of old wood and lingering dinner. This was not merely a confrontation with his uncle's business partner, it was a confrontation with the ghosts of his past, with the fear that had dictated his life for too long. Naive dreams? Sam repeated, forcing confidence into his voice. The only thing naive is to think that our old ways will keep us afloat. You talk about profit as if it's the only measure of success. But what will profits mean if we lose the very essence of who we are? The words erupted from him, powerful yet tinged with uncertainty. Mia stepped closer, her unwavering presence offering a beacon of support. Change is never easy, but it's essential. We need to consider innovation as the bridge to the future. You can't just dismiss it because it's unfamiliar. As Sam looked around, he saw faces of family members who had nodded off to routine, bound by the familiar chains of their history. He saw a spark of something, a flicker of hope reflecting in their eyes. He had ignited something within them, a realization that perhaps they too longed for a voice of change. Sam, you're just one person, the business partner shot back, shaking his head. One person doesn't change an entire family business without shaking the foundation, and not in a good way. Those words stuck to Sam like glue. But amidst the threat, a defiant warmth surged. He had been one person, a teacher, an encourager, a dreamer. You might see me as just one person, but consider this. The greatest inventions began with a single idea from one person convinced they could change the world. If we harness that potential, we can empower not only ourselves but everyone who's come before us. My grandmother wouldn't look at this from a fear-based perspective. Silence filled the room as Sam's words hung there, echoing off the walls lined with family portraits. He could sense the weight of his shoulders shifting. He stood more proudly, carved from years of debate and struggle. But rather than bask in the moment, a foreboding thought cascaded through his mind. Was he relying on their approval too heavily? If they rejected his vision, what then? Do they even know your history? The partner pressed, narrowing his eyes. Yours is a childhood story, Sam. What do you know about running a business? That question felt like a knife, but it prompted Sam to delve deeper into what he truly understood. He knew people. He understood the heart of a community, the kind of relationships that could turn dreams into something real. He knew creativity was the antidote to stagnation. Not running a business, building one, he responded, feeling the fire within him stoke higher. I've spent years enlightening kids, fostering their curiosity. I've learned through my failures that the potential for growth lies in accepting new ideas. It's vital to challenge the norm. We are capable of creating something remarkable, starting from our own family heritage. Sam took a step forward, focusing on the crowd again. I refuse to let fear dictate our future. Yes, we may stumble, but we can adapt. We can learn. I stand here, ready to invest not just money but heart and voice into something bigger. Who's with me? His voice echoed, and for a brief moment, curious glances turned into contemplative expressions. There were murmurs, low at first, then rising like the tide. The very challenge he'd feared now rippled through the room, resetting expectations. Then, his uncle spoke up again, that hardened disbelief resettling across his features. What if we go bankrupt? What if you ruin us? A heavy question, but the sincerity of a life truly lived rang louder than fear. Sam's shoulders squared as he took a deep breath. Then let me bear the responsibility for that risk. But if we succeed, if we revitalize our legacy, that's a risk worth taking. With that bold declaration hanging in the air like a challenge, a palpable shift occurred. Sam felt this was it. Everything had teetered on the precipice of fear and possibility. But just as he thought momentum was building, the room's door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside, unexpected and jarring. Sam's heart skipped a beat. Who had just arrived? And what impact would their presence bear on this volatile moment? The figure stood in the doorway, a silhouette framed against the dim light of the hallway, interrupting the charged atmosphere of the room. Sam squinted, trying to gauge the arrival's impact. He felt various eyes shift from him, the center of attention, to this newcomer. The weight of the moment hung precariously, and with each second of silence the tension rose. Clara, Sam breathed, more to himself than anyone else. The whispered name ignited a flurry of memories. She had left the family business years ago, choosing instead to pursue her own dreams in the tech industry. But her return stirred the fragility of his plans. Would she support his vision or further the descent? Clara stepped into the room, her confident stride immediately drawing attention away from the earlier debate. Her long hair swayed gently. She exuded unshakable poise. The calmness in her demeanor contrasted sharply with the anxiety that had engulfed Sam. His mind raced. Had she come to criticize, to champion his cause, or simply stop by out of obligation? Sam, Clara said, her voice resonating through the murmurs. We need to talk. She directed her focus toward him, but he noticed the glances exchanged among family members, some perplexed, others intrigued. Now, Sam hesitated, weighing the significance of her presence. Should he invite her into this fraught conversation, or would it derail the fragile momentum he had begun to build? Now, she insisted, stepping closer as murmurs fizzled out. Her authoritative tone cut through the earlier uncertainty. What you're trying to do is important whether or not they see it. That comment ignited curiosity among the gathered relatives. Some shifted in their seats, intrigued by the impending showdown. It struck Sam that Clara was his ally or maybe a foe. Either way, she had returned to confront their legacy, and it was clear that this engagement promised to deepen his resolve or shake it further. He took another deep breath, steeling himself. "What do you mean?" The words felt almost timid, but as they left his mouth, an unexpected resolve began to firm up within him. "I've watched the family struggle to adapt over the years, Sam. Change is a bitter pill to swallow for us, and I know that even more than anyone here," she replied, looking slowly around the room, gauging reactions. "But if anyone can push things forward, it's you. Then you're on board?" He challenged, heart pounding. If Clara was really in his corner, it meant reinforcements. But if her mood turned against him, he felt he might just be courting disaster. "Not quite," she said, crossing her arms thoughtfully. "But I think you're misjudging your opponents. They're scared, not stubborn. You have to connect with them on their terms first before proposing radical change." Her assertion rang with an unsettling truth. Sam hadn't considered that while his vision was important, so was the emotional connection among the family, one intertwined with their business. "Okay, then teach me," he said, appreciating the shift in perspective. "How do I reach them?" Nods rippled through the crowd again. The mere acknowledgement of her advice opened the floor for a new dialogue. "Speak directly to their fears," Clara urged. "Acknowledge them. Yes, they feel the threat of loss, but they also feel a love for the brand, the legacy. Give them hope with that connection." The moment lingered, heavy with possibility, and Sam felt the burgeoning strength of his purpose. This wasn't just about him or the push for modernity. It was a plea for understanding, a chance to revitalize that shared love he sensed in the room. He turned back to his family. "What do you fear most about change?" Sam asked, his voice steady, reaching for common ground amidst the noise from his past. These were not just voices of dissent. They were reflections of love and loyalty, projecting their feelings about the future onto him. As hesitant expressions morphed into deep contemplation, Sam caught a flicker of sensation in Clara's eyes. There lay something more in their depths, a challenge perhaps. But just as a few family members began to engage, a flicker of unease slipped back into Sam's stomach. He had taken a step forward, but the risk was immense. What if their fears won out? What if they sheltered their doubts too tightly, refusing to engage at all? His heart thudded, but a resolute determination slowly replaced the dread. The next move was pivotal. "Clara, can you help me navigate this?" he asked, breathless but resolute, aware that the future hinged on their joint effort. As she nodded, Sam felt a stirring both hopeful and intimidating. The risks remained daunting and conviction would be crucial, but he had initiated a shift. Yet a shadow crossed his mind. Could the courage he was finally summoning be enough to challenge the unseen barriers of their shared history? He looked around again, knowing that the next few moments could either cement his vision or shatter it entirely. Clara's nod reverberated through Sam like a jolt of electricity, grounding him in purpose and igniting a desperate need to summon every ounce of skill he possessed. The gathering had transformed from a potentially hostile clash into a forge where ideas could be hammered out. Yet, the decisions looming ahead felt as heavy as iron. Would they support him, or would he end up burning the bridges he was trying to construct? "Let us talk about specific fears," Clara urged, taking control of the atmosphere. "Your family has deeper issues than just change. There's history, expectations, the fear of failure. They've built their identities around this legacy." Sam nodded, the realization rushing through him like a cold wave. He had seen the shadows of doubt in their eyes and recognized how intertwined dissatisfaction and love had become in the way they spoke about the family business. Clara was right. He was not just up against stubborn opposition, he was challenging their very identity. But how to convince them to step into the unknown, without feeling like their foundation was crumbling? "Maybe if I share my vision more personally, it could resonate?" he posited, looking to Clara for confirmation. "It's not enough to simply share it. You have to tell them why this matters to you. Make it relatable," she advised, her tone both encouraging and challenging. "Show them that change doesn't signify loss but rather an evolution of their legacy." Sam's heart raced at the thought. The last time he had expressed personal feelings was buried under layers of expectation and an unspoken fear of appearing vulnerable. To expose his own flaws while advocating for a radical shift? What if they misinterpreted that as weakness? He inhaled deeply. What if I laid out my journey? What if I told them why I care more than just business? My fears? A flicker of recognition passed through Clara's eyes. A lesson shared between allies. Exactly. You need to humanize this for them. You're not just asking them to embrace change. You're inviting them to a conversation about the future. They want to see a future that includes them. As Clara's words sank in, Sam's mind whirled with narratives he had never thought to share. Growing up in the shadow of the family business, he had always felt trapped by expectations. He had carved a path away from the family's vision, only to return, forged by desire and necessity. Let me try this, he said, confidence firming. He felt the moment stretching, teetering precariously on the edge of revelation and fear. Turning back to his family, he summoned every ounce of courage. I've struggled with my place in our family's legacy. He began, voice steady. I left searching for more than just what was prescribed. In that search I faced my own fears, failures, and deepest aspirations. I'm here because I believe in our family, and I want us to adapt while honoring the roots that bind us. The room air shifted. Sam could see the waves of emotion washing over the faces of those who had once seemed so distant. A mix of shock, curiosity, and perhaps even understanding embraced the space. I know change is hard, but I see something valuable that we could create together. I want every one of you to stand with me, to dream on this journey, not just follow it blindly. He felt Clara's gaze, an encouraging fire behind him, igniting something more than just hope. This was a new tone, a bridge forming across past misunderstandings. Yet despite the warmth of connection igniting the atmosphere, gnawing doubt crept in. Would they trust him? Would they acknowledge his vulnerability as a strength? As several family members began to respond hesitantly, but engaging, their reservations still lingered thick and tangible. The smile on Clara's face faded, replaced by a shadow of apprehension. Was the initial reaction merely born out of curiosity rather than conviction? There's more at stake than just our family ties. There's our legacy and survival, he thought, feeling the intensity of what lay ahead. Let us talk about what we could lose, he prompted. The decision hung in the air like ripe fruit ready to fall. No turning back now. Every word became an invitation to engage more deeply in their fears and dreams. Just as some family members were about to respond, Sam's phone buzzed in his pocket, disrupting the moment and breaking the flow of intimacy. The pulse of uncertainty surged through him once more. Was it a distraction meant to append this pivotal moment? What was that? Clara asked, concern etching her features. Caught in the web of vulnerabilities, his heart thudded as he fumbled for the device. This interruption could either shatter their newfound momentum or serve as a wake-up call to the reality that change was inevitable, even in unexpected ways. He hesitated, knowing that with this message could come a revelation that might shift everything. Would it be news that rooted him further or disruption that shattered all he had worked so hard to cultivate amidst his family? As he glanced at the screen, breath caught in his throat, he understood. The next revelation held weight far beyond personal risk. The very future hung in the balance. The vibrations of his phone felt like an electric current as Sam stared at the screen. He anticipated the worst. Messages from the corporate side of the family business often brimmed with warnings or demands, not encouragement. He could already hear the whispers, faint yet piercing, projecting the tension of unyielding expectations. He thought about his family's reaction if they found out he was anxious about this message, anxiety they might take as incompetence. Sam? Clara's voice jolted him back. The weight of the gathered family drew him deeper into the moment. You need to address this. Her presence remained a solid anchor amidst the brewing storm. For the first time, he felt the pressure of the device in his pocket morph into an opportunity. He exhaled slowly and swiped the notification open. It was an email from a potential investor. He had approached someone he had been trying to convince for months to believe in this radical vision of adaptation. The subject line sent shivers down his spine. Possibility of collaboration. A mix of hope and dread surged through him. He realized he could share this with his family. The prospect of fresh ideas from the outside world. An ally that could lend credibility to his plea. First, however, he needed to ensure the moment remained focused on what mattered most: his family. I just received an email from someone who believes in what we're trying to do, he said, turning his attention back to his family, shaking off the weight of his hesitation. This isn't just about us anymore. We're at a pivotal moment. There's potential out there that aligns with our values, but still challenges us to grow. Eyes widened as a ripple of curiosity spread across the room. Initially, Sam felt invigorated by their attention, but the stakes felt greater than before. This heat summoned clarity. The urgency in their faces demanded he articulate exactly what he wanted this potential collaboration to mean. What if we took it a step further? Clara interjected, her voice soft yet insistent. What if you invited them into our discussion, showed them how our family structure could embrace new perspectives? Let them see that our legacy isn't about holding on to the past, but evolving into a future that reflects who we genuinely are. He felt the room pulse with energy. The tiniest seed of conviction started to blossom within him, weaving the strands of doubt into a hybrid of fear and immense determination. Admitting vulnerability to his family wasn't a sign of weakness. Sharing his vision and these new opportunities could signify growth. Let us get this right, he decided, unsure if the growing confidence was more about necessity than faith. I want us to think beyond just the immediate. This collaboration could redefine our legacy, but only if we're willing to break out of our comfort zones. More murmurs filled the room, and though the hesitance still lingered, an undeniable shift was occurring. Family members glanced at one another amidst an unspoken dialogue that seemed to echo Sam's resolve. But how do we do that? His younger brother finally asked, a hint of skepticism lacing his tone. What do we stand to gain? The question felt like a spotlight. Sam mentally raced, recalibrating with a new sense of urgency. This isn't solely about convenience. It's about survival. It means investing our beliefs while transforming our business model to step into the future, and not just react to it but lead it. We have something to offer. Feeling bold, he continued, in a world where traditional businesses struggle, this is an opportunity not just to survive, but to thrive, to weave our values into something sustainable and innovative. As the intensity mounted, Sam could see walls beginning to lower. They seemed to wrestle with their identities as a family, while also grappling with the values that Sam dared to redefine. Would they step forward together, or would they choose the familiar path of resistance? Then, just as the momentum began to cling to an unsteady balance between hope and skepticism, Sam's phone buzzed again, this time with a response from the investor, potentially confirming a meeting. The room fell silent. All eyes were on his trembling fingertips as he prepared to unlock a message that could either solidify a new future or trigger a flurry of resistance. The air thickened with anticipation. No way back now, he reasoned silently, heart racing, stepping even deeper into the unknown as he readied himself to embrace whatever news awaited him. Sam understood that every decision they made, grounded in authenticity, could lead to new heights if they were all willing to take that leap together. With a network of trust still hanging by a thread, he took a deep breath and tapped the screen. The moment of truth was approaching. What awaited him on the other side could bring everything crashing down, or build a completely new legacy. Would they embrace the shift? Or would he stand alone at the edge of their combined history? The message unfolded with a simplicity that belied its potential weight. As Sam read, the initial surge of relief he felt quickly morphed into trepidation. The investor wanted to meet, and in a city buzzing with innovation, they would convene in a co-working space, a place known for nurturing fresh ideas and disruptive concepts. Yet, the flurry of excitement that swirled within him was quickly smothered by a sense of inadequacy. What if he couldn't articulate the vision clearly? What if he stumbled in front of his family? The mere thought tugged on the insecurities that had long been buried under the facade of steady confidence. Clara noticed the flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked, a mixture of concern and encouragement lacing her tone. The room had transformed into a space brimming with unspoken support, but Sam found it challenging to accept it. "This could redefine everything," he said quietly, his voice trembling slightly, betraying the anxiety he desperately wanted to conceal. "What is holding you back?" Clara pressed, her eyes steady with conviction. Sam paused, reflecting on the moment. "What if I don't have the right credentials? I've been at the periphery of our business model for too long. I've been comfortable leaning on family expectations rather than carving my own path." The confession felt liberating yet terrifying, and Sam could sense the shift in the energy around him. The room buzzed with a collective realization. Clara nodded, her understanding apparent. "You've been carrying the weight of expectations alone. This is your chance to leverage your unique perspective." They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for authenticity. That single insight struck Sam like a cattle prod, spurring him to reconsider everything he had tucked away. Yes, he had lacked traditional authority, but his experiences, his struggles, and even his vulnerabilities held far more weight, offering a perspective that could resonate with the investor. So, how do I present this? Sam asked, eyes darting around the room as hope began to flicker to life. What do I say? Be honest, Clara urged, her voice softening further. Speak from your heart. Use your story. Connect with them over true and raw reflections. You don't need to be exceptionally polished. You need to be real. In that moment, Sam felt a transformation boil within him. The essence of his purpose was emerging not as the son of a powerful business family, but as an individual seeking to redefine his voice, not just for himself but for their legacy too. As the days unfolded leading to the meeting, Sam poured himself into preparation. He sketched out his thoughts, combining insights from their family business-rich history with innovative, forward-thinking ideas. The challenge now was connecting these elements cohesively rather than getting lost in the fear of inadequacy. He visualized the meeting multiple times. With every scenario he played through his mind, he faced his fears, slowly replacing whispers of doubt with affirmations of capability. He was no longer just sharing ideas. He was stepping into his role as a leader, someone worth listening to. But amidst this metamorphosis, the sense of trepidation lingered. Approaching the meeting felt like stepping onto a precipice, a chance to launch himself into a new world, but also a risk of failure and disapproval from his family. The stakes couldn't be higher. And as clarity crept into his mind, so did a sense of urgency to fully harness this moment. Would he navigate this pivotal encounter with the confidence he had just begun to cultivate, or would he allow old fears to ensnare him, potentially setting their aspirations spiraling downwards? As the meeting day approached, with minds racing in both excitement and fear, Sam held his breath. A voice in his head urged him to believe, to embrace his capacity to innovate and challenge the status quo. The tranquil seat of possibility was now rife with doubt, and with each passing hour the question haunted him. Was he ready to face the world not just as a member of a family business, but as the harbinger of its evolution? In that moment of introspection, Sam's determination surged. The real challenge would begin not in the meeting room but within his own mind, as he planned to confront the profiles of expectation that loomed large over him. The day of the meeting arrived, and Sam felt the specter of all he'd uncovered wash over him as he prepared to step into the future he sought to embrace. It wasn't just about the collaboration anymore. It was about claiming his rightful place at the forefront of that collaboration, and facing the implications of his identity now fully exposed. But just as he was about to walk out the door, a familiar voice broke through his thoughts asking, "What if you fail?" It was an echo from deep within, resonating with years of self-doubt. No, Sam thought defiantly. The time had come to face that fear head-on. Sam stepped into the co-working space, its vibrant energy washing over him. The modern decor, the sound of clicking keyboards, and hushed conversations enveloped him like a warm blanket, but also amplified the pulse of his anxiety. His gaze found the glass-walled conference room where the investor awaited. He could see the outlines of several figures sitting around a table, drawing deep breaths to steady his own racing heart. Each step felt heavy, burdened by the expectations he had placed on himself. The weight of his family's legacy weighed on him like lead, making him question if he truly belonged here. Clara's words, however, pulsed in his mind. They're looking for authenticity. With every stride, he recalibrated his mental approach. He ran through the narrative he had constructed, weaving in threads of his personal journey and the vision he had for the future. As he approached the meeting room, Sam mentally rehearsed. What do I want to leave them with? It was a simple question, yet it burrowed deeper into the foundation of his confidence. He envisioned not just a presentation but a storytelling experience, an opportunity to shed light on what had led him to this pivotal moment. The moment he entered, all eyes turned to him, curiosity lighting their expressions. He paused, taking a deep breath, letting the initial flush of insecurity pass before laying his notes on the table. A silence settled, heavy but ripe with potential. "Thank you for this opportunity," he started, his voice steadier than he had anticipated. "I'm Sam, and I'm excited to share my perspective on where our family business is headed." He caught a flicker of doubt in his mind but swiftly quashed it, plunging into the story he had prepared. With each point he made, Sam felt fragments of his past coalescing into something remarkable, a narrative that shifted from familial obligation to personal vision. He spoke about the struggles and successes that shaped not just their business, but his ideals and aspirations. With every phrase he articulated his belief in innovation, highlighting how their legacy could thrive in today's market by embracing change rather than fleeing from it. In the middle of his presentation, he noticed one of the investors leaning forward, their gaze intense and appreciative. Encouraged, he adjusted his posture, channeling the energy in the room as he delved deeper. The fears that had once hoped to drown him began to recede, replaced by the exhilaration of seizing the moment. Yet, even as the words flowed, a nagging voice in his head tapped away. What if they don't believe you? It lashed out with ferocity, but now he chose to confront it. What if? He countered silently. The answer eluded him, but each assertion he made was filled with sincerity, disarming the doubts one by one. As he concluded, the applause echoed, a balm on his solitude. He had shared not just ideas, but his authenticity, his journey as a conduit for ambition and change. The meeting transitioned to a discussion, and much to his surprise, they engaged deeply with his ideas. They asked questions, challenged his concepts, and in that exhilarating exchange he found his footing. Each inquiry was not a weapon but a pathway to explore further. However, a small part of him whispered apprehensively what lay ahead. Just as his caution threatened to dim the glow of success, he reminded himself of Clara's faith in him. He had presented not as the heir of their family business but as a leader in his own right. For perhaps the first time, he felt a flicker of genuine pride swell within. Yet, as the meeting neared its end, he recalled the frayed edges of family expectations still shadowing him. The exhilarating feeling of having transformed this encounter hung tantalizingly close, but uncertainty about the future loomed like a specter, reminding him that triumphs in business often birth new challenges. What awaited him now? Resolution or further confrontation with the layers of his identity? As they concluded their discussions and expressed interest in his proposals, Sam felt the vibrant energy of possibility intensify. He left the meeting room buzzing with adrenaline, but lingering questions loomed overhead. Would this new path solidify his burgeoning identity, or would old pressures claw their way back in? The echoes of hope mingled with threads of doubt in a complex tapestry, leaving him to wonder what these new developments meant for his evolving role, not only in their business but in himself. In that moment his mind raced, and he realized there was far more at stake than he had initially fathomed. The line between innovation and tradition danced precariously, and his next steps held the power to reshape his narrative entirely. As he prepared to walk back to the comfort of familiarity, he faced the sharp clarity of his journey ahead. Was he truly ready to embrace the legacy he desired, and how far would he go to make it his own? Sam stepped into the corridor, the weight of the meeting still palpable in his veins, yet, amidst the adrenaline, echoes of uncertainty crowded his mind. Could he afford to stake even more on this new vision? Each question loomed larger than the last, unraveling strands of confidence as he left the room. The reality of his family's expectations tightened around him like an invisible shroud. He visualized their faces' expectations drawn tight as strings on a violin. Had he inadvertently opened the door to scrutiny? Was his boldness regarded as arrogance? The questions prickled, challenging the buoyancy he had felt moments ago. He made his way to the outdoor terrace, seeking solace in the gentle breeze that brushed his skin, longing for clarity amid the cacophony of thought. Sam leaned against the cool metal railing, his pulse gradually decelerating. The horizon stretched before him, an invitation to explore untapped potential, but he felt anchored to familiar confines. What now? He muttered to himself, glancing down at the bustling streets below. He yearned for direction, craving the enlightenment that Clara seemed to embody effortlessly. She had a knack for facing obstacles with fearless resolve, but he felt every bit the novice. The irony gnawed at him. He had just pitched a bold vision yet found himself second-guessing his capability to lead effectively. He sank deeper into contemplation, the noise around him fading as he replayed the meeting's highlights. Questions from the investors ricocheted through his mind, the stern gazes of a few lingering longer than he wished. Were they truly challenged by his ideas, or was there a lingering doubt woven into their inquiries? Internalizing their reactions probed him deeper into his own vulnerabilities. A flicker of an idea emerged, a way to dismantle the uncertainty haunting him. He would reach out to Clara. She could provide feedback, bolster his confidence, and perhaps share her insights on navigating familial legacies. He pulled out his phone and hesitated before sending her a message, fearing it might come off as a sign of weakness. And yet that very act represented his evolution. He was not crying for help, but engaging actively with someone who understood both his struggles and aspirations. In the midst of typing, he paused. What if their ambitions diverged? What if Clara held reservations about his approach? The moment morphed from liberation into trepidation. Would she view his ambition as a betrayal of tradition? The self-doubt tightened its grip again, veins constricting with the perceived threat of disapproval. Sam shook his head as if to clear the fog. No, he whispered firmly, rallying against the onslaught of anxiety. This was about growth. Tradition was an anchor, not a cage. He had to face these fears directly, armed with clarity. Sinking further into the depths of his ambition, he nonetheless felt the responsibility of bringing his family's legacy into the contemporary fold. He hit send, exhaling a breath. The discomfort of vulnerability was present, but so was the thrill of potential growth. Now the waiting began. Would Clara respond with understanding or skepticism? Sam's mind drifted as he mused over the implications of their conversation. A meeting with Clara could either lead him further into the luminous path of honest innovation, or force him to confront the unyielding aspect of familial expectation with renewed vigor. With the sun hovering low in the sky, casting a warm glow onto the city below, he made a decision. He would prepare for her response, no matter the direction. If this journey had taught him anything, it was that every challenge held the potential for profound transformation. But the weaving path ahead was still uncertain. Was he psychologically prepared for whatever reaction might come from his sister? He studied the street below, where a life arrayed in multicolored promise beckoned. If his future was to be innovative, he would need to confront not only the perspectives of investors but the core of his own identity and how it was intertwined with Clara's. As night began to fall, shadows lengthened and clamored at the edges of his resolve, pushing him to contemplate what hidden truths awaited discovery. Was he brave enough to embrace the possibility of diverging paths? Or would he remain tethered, unwilling to confront the multifaceted reality of family loyalty? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue that felt like a beacon of impending transformation. Sam stood on the terrace, experiencing a collision of elation and anxiety, aware that the moment of reckoning with Clara loomed closer. With sweat forming on his brow, he realized this conversation could either solidify his new vision or unravel the delicate threads of hope he had woven. The path to reclaim his identity and redefine his family's legacy hinged largely on how he articulated his ambitions and fears. His phone vibrated, pulling him from contemplation. With a deep breath, he opened Clara's message and felt a wave of relief wash over him. Her response was one of support and encouragement. "I believe in you, Sam. Let's talk. I want to hear how you're planning to navigate this." The warmth of her words ignited resolve within him. Clara had always been fierce and unwavering, an embodiment of determination and ambition. If anyone could help him refine his narrative, it was her. He quickly typed back, suggesting they meet at their favorite coffee shop, the one that had served as a backdrop for many of their childhood dreams. Later that evening, as he walked through the familiar streets, Sam reflected on how far he had come. He could still feel the weight of his uncle's dismissive comments echo in his mind, but each step forward felt less like an obligation to prove himself and more like an affirmation of his worth. The evening air was crisp, and a sense of purpose flowed through him. Upon arriving, he spotted Clara already seated, her demeanor radiating a sense of assurance. As soon as she saw him, a smile broke across her face, renewing his conviction. After exchanging pleasantries, Sam laid the framework of his ideas and the recent meeting's challenges out in detail. Clara listened attentively, occasionally nodding, providing feedback as he unveiled his vision of fostering innovation within their family's legacy. "I've realized," he said, leaning forward, "that it's not merely about changing the business. It's about reshaping my identity within it. If I can show them that I'm not just the outsider but an integral part of our heritage, That S where real transformation begins. The ideas flowed freely between them like a practice duet, and with every word, Sam felt concrete growth, each piece of dialogue sharpening his purpose and alleviating doubts he didn't know plagued him. He successfully articulated his insecurities, framing them as stepping stones toward resilience, rather than weaknesses. Clara reciprocated with her fears, intertwining their narratives with empathy and understanding. "We need to build a bridge to the family," Clara asserted, her voice steady and certain. "You've already started that by embracing your fears. They resonate with your authenticity. Don't just lead with your credentials, lead with your heart." As they spoke, why Sam had initially deemed himself unworthy began to dissipate, revealing a sense of renewed confidence. He had mastered the art of not only advocating for change, but embodying it by being transparent with his fears. Unlike the rigid structure he had once viewed as inherited constraints, he now saw room for creativity and innovation. With Clara's insights, he sketched out a revised presentation to showcase their family's rich history coupled with a vision for sustainable growth. "This," he declared, "is about our family legacy intertwining with the future. I want them to see that love for tradition can coexist with the willingness to adapt." After hours of brainstorming, Sam felt lighter, his apprehension replaced by strategic resolve. They exchanged ideas until the cafe dimmed, transforming thoughts into actionable steps. "Tomorrow," Clara remarked, "this journey continues. Own it." The sunrise met him with an invigorating spirit that morning as he prepared for another family gathering to discuss his vision of the future. Clad in a simple shirt that spoke of humility, Sam stood in front of his family once more, bolstered by a profound sense of belonging and worthiness. Clara laid it out beautifully, he began, his voice steady, weaving in personal anecdotes of growth and authentic vulnerability. The pride swelling within him felt monumental, a stark contrast to the doubt that once consumed him. As he spoke, he consciously made eye contact with his uncle and other family members, confronting not just their expectations but their fears alongside him. It was an invitation for them to join him not as an adversary but as family bound by a shared history. "I'm not asking you to abandon our roots. In fact, I want to honor them," Sam proclaimed, each word infused with heartfelt confidence. His stories interlaced with lessons of courage and authenticity, striking a chord with those listening. With time, skepticism diminished and engagement blossomed. As the conversation deepened, assertions of fear gradually transformed into candid discussions of hopes and dreams for a collective future. The metamorphosis wasn't merely his. It extended through cracks in the facade of a family business that had stood resilient against the tide of change. As they talked, Sam felt the collective weight shift. A powerful undercurrent of anticipation vibrated through the room as family members, initially hesitant, began envisioning the potential for their legacy. Sam's narrative prompted family members to share, blending aspirations into a collective vision that could indeed revitalize their history. In that environment, he wasn't just a teacher advocating for change. He emerged as a leader willing to listen, adapt, and forge ahead together. Moments turned into hours, and by the time they ended, the family had stitched together a new fabric, one woven with threads of innovation inspired by their core values. "Together we can embrace change while honoring our past," Sam remarked, now in the warmth of approval. In that moment, he knew he had achieved more than he ever thought possible, not only claiming his rightful legacy, but transforming him into a conduit of collaborative growth. The journey of rediscovering his place had reached a pivotal moment. Sam stood transformed, achieving a newfound sense of belonging, enriched by authentic connections. He had conquered the feelings of inadequacy that once loomed, now recognized as an integral part of a family dedicated to forging a future where both dreams and values lived harmoniously together. As he basked in the aftermath of acceptance and unity, Sam felt finally equipped to walk toward the next challenge that awaited, a bright horizon sparkling with potential opportunities, free from the shackles of doubt. Now this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your engagement truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this conclusion. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation and inspire their own journeys. Don't wait even one more second to share.